Welcome back. All right, so we know now that the NHL is going to the Olympics. And I've had people saying, hey, when are you going to do a Team Canada? Why start with Canada? I'm going to start with Sweden. I'm going to start with Sweden because as a Canuck fan, I've always had a soft spot for the Swedish team because usually there are Canucks on the Swedish team. This time around, not as much. There's a former Canuck that might be in net. There's one current Canuck that I see here, and that's about it. So it's kind of a weird time for Vancouver, that with the retirement of the Sedins, Alex Edler moving off to the Kings, it looks like it's going to be a almost Canuck-free team. And it really depends on the health of Pettersson as to whether or not he's going to go, right? I'm going to be interested to see if there are going to be players who opt out of the Olympics due to bangs and bruises and various things that happen in the world of hockey, that in the National Hockey League they're feeling kind of bruised up and maybe they don't go. But Sweden can really put together quite the team. So we've got the forwards here, defense here, and goaltenders here. And there are other players I could have had on this board. So Nick Backstrom, probably not top 6 this time around. Probably not. Probably third line center, which is ridiculous, right? He's about a point per game player. I was talking about him just the other day as a point per game guy. Gabriel Landeskog, who was on the 2014 team, as well as Backstrom. There aren't a lot of players who will likely play in this that were on the 2014 team. I've got 4 guys who might be there, and 3 of the 4 should be, but again, we'll see. Landeskog, the asterisk shows that I think he's probably top 6. Should be. Mika Zibanejad, absolutely top 6. Yes, Zibanejad, I think, is due for a big bounce back from what was a down year, and we know that he had a good second half to the season. Elias Lindholm, out of Calgary. So with Lindholm, is he top 6? I don't have an asterisk next to him, so probably not, although I have an asterisk next to Elias Pettersson. And for Pettersson, it's going to have to be him being back to being himself in order to be a top 6 forward. But I think there's more explosive scoring opportunity for Pettersson than for Lindholm. Andre Burakovsky, absolutely, I think, has earned himself a spot in the top 6, as well as William Nylander. Nylander, for the detractors that we have in the hockey world, where he's concerned, I honestly think with Team Sweden, I think he's going to be pretty darn good. And then you've got William Karlsson, right, who has already shown he is a solid two-way center. He could very well be their 4th line center. That's a pretty good middle of the ice that Sweden can put out there. Then you got Patrick Hornqvist, good veteran presence, net crasher. Victor Olofsson, good on the power play, still relatively young, comparatively speaking, with some of the others. And that's where the question marks come in for me. So you've got Michael Backlund out of Calgary, Joel Eriksson Ek, who just had quite the season for Minnesota, relatively young as well. Will they go more with the younger players or more with the older players? So you've got Jesper Bratt. If they go on the younger side, Jesper Bratt probably makes the team. Alexander Wenberg, 17 goals last year, playing for Seattle this year. It might actually be kind of entertaining to see some Seattle Kraken players go over and play in the Olympics. For hockey fans just getting into it, it might be fun to see that international ice surface and see how the game is different, right? Victor Arvidsson, to me, I don't think based on last season he makes the team, but he is capable of a bounce back. He's playing for the Kings now, and so he may push himself into the roster. And if he does he replace one of the guys that I have an asterisk next to in the top 6? Does he push somebody else down to the 3rd line? Adrian Kempe out of LA, so the LA hat, which I'm wearing because three crowns and a King's crown. It's close as I can get. I don't have a Sweden hat. And Gustav Nyquist, who didn't play at all last season, but he did have experience in the 2014 Olympics where Sweden won silver. Sweden has always been a country that when you look at them on paper, there isn't any one line you can shut down. They are a good team all the way through, and they play like a team. So they're going to be a tough out. When you get to the blue line, I think honestly, so this forward group, the top 12 of this, yeah, we'll see how it turns out. You guys can let me know in the comment section what you think. But it's going to be fascinating. And again, there's other guys that aren't on this board that could end up forcing their way into the lineup. But with the blue line, I think there's a pretty clear likelihood of these guys being the top 4. Victor Hedman, John Klingberg, Matthias Ekholm, and Erik Karlsson. And I say Karlsson because of his experience. And because with a team like this that is basically an all-star team, I think Karlsson could flourish. And again, it's about that power play. You'd have Olofsson, you'd have Karlsson, could be a deadly power play. Ekholm, I like his two-way game, solid defenseman. And Klingberg and Hedman as a top two is interesting. But Oliver Ekman-Larsson can't be completely ruled out. He did have that experience at the 2014 Olympics. They may put him into a top four position. It's possible, although you've also got Rasmus Dahlin, Rasmus Andersson, so battle of the two Rasmuses, or Rasmi. It's not a thing, but is it? Adam Larsson, who is a very good defensive defenseman, right? Erik Brannstrom, and again, that's that Seattle tie-in too, right? Erik Brannstrom, young defenseman out of Ottawa. Jonas Brodin, can't forget Jonas Brodin, should be in the top six. And Hampus Lindholm, who if he's healthy this year, should be in the top six. So I have 8 top 6 defensemen. It's a loaded roster. Sweden is going to be a loaded team. And what they do with this blue line is going to be fascinating. Because again, when we look at this forward group, you can decide, okay, we're going to go more with some of the younger guys and go with more speed, or we're going to go with the veteran team that's got the experience. We might sacrifice a bit in speed, but it'll help us in other ways. In net, Jacob Markstrom, Linus Ullmark, Robin Lehner. That should be the 3. Lehner, likely the starter, and I say likely because Markstrom could steal that job as well. That's one of those things that when you look at the asterisks and where I have them, absolutely there's the possibility that Karlsson, maybe he doesn't play very well. Maybe Dahlin gets into a top 4 spot. Maybe Rasmus Andersson, an underrated defenseman out of Calgary, gets a top 6 spot. One thing that these Olympics should do, and usually do when the NHL goes over and plays there, is it'll allow for it'll allow for fans to understand that certain players are underrated. There are definitely some underrated players in the NHL who will go over, play in these Olympics, and will come up with a brand new appreciation. The other thing, too, if you're a general manager, you might be watching a Patrick Hornqvist and going, so what does he have? Oh, that's interesting. And he's playing with my player on this line. It'd be interesting if we put that line together in the NHL. And then you call up Florida and go, so what is it going to take to get Hornqvist? Maybe Florida hangs up the phone. Maybe they talk to you. So, I mean, there is always the danger, and I've seen people say, well, there's the danger of injury. I've argued that before, that obviously if some of these players were to get hurt playing in the Olympics in February, that would be an issue that obviously could be alarming to general managers, fans alike, and to coaches, driving them nuts. But players want to play. Players want to go over. They want to play in the Olympics. They want to represent their country. And they haven't done so since 2014, at least not with the NHLers. 2018, I'm not going to be discussing the 2018 result because the NHL didn't go over and play. So that to me is a completely separate tournament. And we're going to see something different this year. But my guess is Sweden will be underrated going into the tournament. They'll be underrated probably after the round robin. There'll be excuses made for why they beat pretty good teams, and well, they're probably not that good. And then in the medal round, when they suddenly start scoring upsets, or what's perceived as upsets, we can act surprised. Yeah, Sweden, I would not rule out a gold for Sweden. I'll say that straight out. But I think that the gold is going to be between a lot of countries, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Team Sweden. Who do you have on that team? Who do you think is going to get in there? We'll see the names of who's being invited to camps and all that soon. We'll see who gets named to the teams relatively soon, I would imagine. So we'll see if I get through this whole series before the teams are all revealed. But hey, let me know your thoughts. I'll talk to you again soon.